All right, we're live. This is our fortnightly design and usability meeting. And before we get into any agenda or discussion items, we should probably go around and do some quick introductions. I am Jen Lampton, joining from Oakland, California, and I'll turn it over to Tim.
I am Tim Erickson, St. Paul Tim, joining from Deerwood, Minnesota. Martin.
I'm Martin Price, Yorkshire Pudding, joining from United Kingdom.
Robert.
And I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California.
Great. Okay, Jen, you want me to
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
facilitate things if you're okay? Well, we've looked at the, there's no issues in the forum post, I take it? Nope, okay. So we are thinking about keeping the meeting fairly short today. Today is our Design UX meeting. I think none of us have any urgent pressing issues. I'm trying to think if any of the active issues in the issue queue have Design UX components, and I can't think of any. Well, the closest one could be that there's been a little bit of buzz around that clear registry, clear caches issue, Jen, that you had a PR for. And I don't know if that's something that we need to or want to talk about today.
It might be useful just to describe the problem and solution. So what this is for people who are working on themes. Sometimes they aren't aware that when you add a new template file or theme function or preprocess function, you need to rebuild the theme registry so that your website is aware of the new function. And even if you do eventually figure that out, you may not know that there's a dedicated link for doing that or a dedicated drush command. And we thought we could make it a little bit more visible to people, especially new backdrop, by putting a button on the theme settings page that would allow them to rebuild the registry right there, so that if you didn't have the necessary developer tools, there would still be a tool in the framework itself that would allow you to rebuild that registry if you added new template files. And so I just mocked up something really quick that would do that and threw it up as a pull request to get some user experience review. And so that's what the issue Tim's talking about. Do you know the issue number, Tim?
I don't. I was just looking for it.
Okay.
I'll let you know if I find it, but somebody else might be.
I have to say, I find the devel modules rebuild the registry on every page load very helpful when doing that. But yeah, I can understand if people haven't got that and they're tweaking things, they'll get very frustrated if they don't know that they need to do that. So yeah, that's a good idea.
I almost never use the rebuild on every page load button, but only because I want to have to think about every time it is necessary to clear the registry, so that I'm training myself on like which changes are necessary to clear the theme rebuild. But I would imagine, I know I've already been through the like it's super frustrating phase before, and I'm sort of past that, it doesn't bother me anymore. But I imagine as especially someone who's new, where you have no idea which things require a rebuild and which ones you don't, you just want to get your theme done, that sort of like keep hitting the wall about why I'm not seeing my changes can be really upsetting. So yeah, I think having the devel setting is really important. It's going to be a huge time saver for a lot of people. And I think also exposing the button is also kind of an education tool for people, where it'll be like, hey, by the way, we have a theme registry. If you add a new template file, you need to clear it. Here's the tool for you to do that. So it's helpful not only in the, here's the tool, but also in the, by the way, you need this tool kind of area.
It is issue 4289. And yeah, we've been the most recent we've gotten some recent comments suggesting that the current location of the clear the cache button is sufficient, and one comment suggesting maybe we should just provide some text on the theme page, rather than putting the button there, just put some help text that points people to where the button is.
Which wait, we don't have a button yet. You mean the clear all caches button?
The clear all caches in
Okay.
the admin menu, the
That
current
would
one,
work too.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure if there's a downside, like just because the button already exists somewhere else, what's the downside to doing it a second time? I don't know if that's a usability issue or if it's just adding
Yeah,
a little bit of complexity that people are concerned about, or why, what the opposition is.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's the same. I don't remember. It's been a while since I worked on it. I'm not sure it's the same thing. It might just be a theme registry clear button, not a all cache clear button, but I don't remember.
I'm looking at a screenshot of what I believe is the most recent version. It has two buttons, one flush CSS cache, and one rebuild the theme registry.
Okay, but no clear all caches button like the other one.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No.
So yeah, that would also be like the clear all caches would clear both of those, so it solves that problem. And I guess the question is there a use case for people who wouldn't want to clear all the caches? You know, like, do you need these buttons specifically?
Yeah. I think my earlier question, I might have misphrased it and talked about clear all caches, but it's more about just the duplication of whatever buttons we do. What's the downside of that?
Yeah, it's. I think if you're doing stuff, it's faster doing just the JS if you're doing CSS, but I could.
To be honest,
as opposed to all, but.
I pretty much always do clear all caches. That's like the only thing I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that if you don't know what you're doing, clear all caches button fix all your problems, and there's like no reason not to do that. But if someone were, for example, building something on a production website, like a new feature that no one can see, you might not want to clear like the page cache every time you make a change, because there can be a severe performance impact to doing that. I'm not sure there's a use case for that though, where people are like building theme things on their production website. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
there's probably quite a few people that will do that. I mean, I certainly used to do it where I've only recently got into the mode of developing on a local. So I'd imagine there will be people who are new to Backdrop who will install it once on the production, and they'll do all their tweaking on production. That said, they probably won't have the kind of level of visitors where it's going to be a big problem. But there will be people who will do development work and adjust their theme on production.
Yeah.
I think the argument for this, adding these buttons where they are, and I am supportive of it, is that if you're a beginner and you're not seeing things, right, that you expect to see, you're making changes and you're not seeing them, you're likely to go to the appearance menu to change themes, because that seems like the logical place to go, right? And what some people are arguing is that, well, it's the clear caches buttons are already there in the menu, and they're not that hard to find. So why should we repeat it? And I'm not sure what the harm is in repeating it. So that's part of my question: is like, what is the downside to repeating it, other than a little extra clutter? That's the main thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the first thing where there's just one button of each. I think that is the simplest, and I agree. I don't think there's any harm, and the clutter in that case is absolutely minimal, and it's about trying to get into the mindset of where people expect to see something, and they're not. You don't necessarily, you're thinking about appearance, you're going to go to appearance as your first port of call rather than home.
Okay. Well, I mean, other than asking other people to weigh in on this issue, is there any other action items to take today? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, well, so if anybody's listening to this, please weigh in on that issue, because right now it's largely, I think, a discussion about whether we should do this or not. Is the PR working? I think the PR is, Jen, it's a little bit, this is a technical question or issue, which is, I at first thought the sandbox is like 2 years old. And it surprised me that it was still working because we've switched over. And so at first I thought I wasn't even going to click on the old 2-year-old sandbox because I assumed it wouldn't work, but then it did. So we do have a working sandbox, but I wonder if we should figure out why there's not a newer one. Or,
Yeah, I can just force push the branch and
okay,
I'll do a rebase too, and then we'll get a newer one and
okay.
should be fine.
That might make it a little easier and less confusing for people. Okay. Well, it sounds to me like that's all we have on that issue. We do have
There is another UX issue. I think it's UX 3872, which is putting vertical tabs on the user edit page,
oh, that's a good one to talk about because
and it needs some input.
yeah. Well, I think it's a nice change, but I'm a little bit concerned that Jen, we recently had a big discussion about vertical tabs.
What do you put in a tab?
Which one is it? I'm sorry, you gave us give us that issue number again, Robert.
3872.
38?
Yeah, I'll put it in the I'll put it in zero.
Thank you.
Yeah, 3872. It certainly makes the page look a lot nicer. I mean, when I just glance, I've often thought about the same issue, which is that user account edit page is kind of very cluttered and disorganized, and it basically just creates some vertical tabs. And I think the premise, Jen, that you have advocated in the past is that the vertical tabs are for things that aren't important.
Yeah.
And might not need to be changed a lot, right? And I think that this adheres to that. Things like the locale setting or the URL redirects are put into vertical tabs, which are just things that aren't normally needed. I'm not
The
sure.
roles
What?
are something that one
Right.
does alter for users regularly. This
But I
user,
think
now they're an editor.
the screenshot though shows that those are in the first vertical tab, so they'd
Yeah.
still be visible,
Right.
even though they're in a tab. It's like the publishing settings for a node are in the first one, right? Where it's like,
Right.
you shouldn't need this most of the time, but it's the most common one you're gonna need when you do need to get in here. And so I think that's nice that this is in here too. Yeah, I think this looks like a good, yeah, I think it follows those rules.
Okay. Well, that was my only concern. Other than that, I like it, and I think the technical issues have been resolved, or maybe not. Olaf found something that looks like Peter fixed it. Okay, so it sounds like there's a little discussion about kind of a minor issue, but so far I haven't heard any opposition. So if anybody wants to comment on this issue, please do. Again, it's issue 3872. I think it'll be a nice fix.
Yeah, this looks good.
Yeah, there was a comment from Indigo Zella yesterday, which probably warrants attention from people above my pay grade, but question about whether it would affect
That's right.
alter implementations because it rearranges the form a lot.
That's right. Jen,
That's-
you might have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's interesting because the form API structure is not part of the API that we guarantee won't change, but it is something that is important for backwards compatibility, which is important to Backdrop. So yeah, I wonder if yeah, I think the backdropcms.org website might be a good one to just throw this patch on and see what happens, because we have heavily altered that form, and it would give us a good example of like what kind of fallout there could be. But yeah, that's a good point.
Is that form hard coded, or is it using, like, can you modify it using, like the field UI?
No, only the fields on it. All of the the field sets are provided by other core modules that you can't modify in the field UI settings. And the field UI for backdrop also doesn't include a specific page for form, so you're really just customizing the individual fields and not the rest of the form. Which brings up another good point, which is that this user page would probably be a good place to make use of our non-field admin settings for field UI, which is what we're talking about for field group and for title. So just another tangent that we could look at when we work on those.
Okay. I was just checking up with the chat. Okay. I kind of missed that last point. I'm not sure if it's important.
Nope, it's not.
Okay. So then is the next step to do a little bit more testing to see what
Yeah,
backward compatibility issues are?
yeah, I think it looks like it needs code review and testing too in the issue. So if someone just wants to play with the sandbox and mark that works for me, if it works for you, that would be good. And then yeah, doing a backwards compatibility test. It is also possible that the things that we're putting in the tabs, the reason we're putting them in the tabs is because they're not used very often. They could be the things on the edit form that aren't changed very often also. So yeah, it's worth doing some testing to see how that would affect stuff. I can't think of.
Well, I think
Go ahead, Joseph.
partially what prompted my question was more that some of these, like for instance, the user picture and personalization, if you have like a really socially focused website, like a forum, then your user picture you might want to have that more prominent. But on a site where there's not a whole bunch of people logging in, maybe user pictures don't matter at all, and it's okay to hide it. So I think my thought was that maybe we want to make this configurable so that you basically using the field UI so that websites who want certain features to be more prominent can move them to the top, or if they don't care about that feature, they can hide it.
Yeah, I don't think we have any kind of interface for that kind of configuration yet in core. So I think that would be a good feature, but also one that might, I'm not sure we want to put it with the addition of vertical tabs, because I think it would block it for a while from getting in. But what we might want to do is, like we have the other issue that's specifically about like adding a managed form tab that could be different than the managed fields tab. We have another issue about hook fields extra field. There's a bunch of other stuff we could look at for providing the user interface for managing what goes into a vertical tab and what doesn't.
Right. No, I was just, I know that this should probably not go in this one, and that is a follow-up issue. I was just saying that's why I brought that up, is because different sites might care about these features differently.
Yeah, totally agree.
I mean, help me understand the implications of that though. So number one is somebody's already, they have a community site, and pictures are important, and they've already made some adjustments and are more prominently displaying that. Would this PR break their user account edit page or not?
It
It might.
might break it in the future. It might break it in the future. Especially if we convert all of these things to use hook field extra fields and then add all of this to the user field, the user form edit, then it might break it when we do that conversion.
Another thing that's additionally complicates matters is that the user form appears not only when you edit, but also on registration. And so we have sort of this extra complication of like, do you want to include these things on the registration form or not? So yeah, which I feel like, I don't know how this is done in Drupal
This
8.
use
Do they give
case
you
for-
2 different form field configurations? I don't remember. But yeah, just more to think about.
This is a use case for having multiple form display types.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. Does Drupal 8 do that or Drupal 9 or
Yes,
Drupal 10?
Drupal 8 did, and yeah.
So you've got a form display for registration and one for edit.
Well, I mean, for content types, I know but in core, there's a form display. I assume it's true for user accounts as well.
Yeah, I was asking if there's 2
Okay, I don't know.
instead of 1. I don't know either. Okay, we can look into it.
I think it would be good if one of us updated this issue with the thoughts. Jen or Joseph, either of you
Yeah,
You
I want to.
to commenting on this?
Yeah, I think Joseph already did add a comment. I'll add one specifically about what happens to backdropcms.org after I throw the patch on there and give that a test.
I do not think I have commented on this.
Oh, you
Oh,
haven't?
okay. Just so that whatever thoughts we had get noted for the people who are active in this issue. Okay. Are there any other? There's a brand new issue, 2 minutes old, that looks like it might be a little bit related because it's the email field one. I don't know if anyone else is looking at it right now. Alan Mel's just opened up an issue saying that somebody wanted to see the email value on the user edit form without having to click edit. And he was wondering if there's a particular reason why that's not visible unless you click edit.
Because it's dangerous.
Because we haven't implemented hook fields, extra fields on the user account.
Okay.
Well, also, like, you wouldn't want everybody's email addresses to be public. Usually.
Right.
Whereas you probably would want any other field data to be public. Makes
So-
emails a little.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
there's
That
Whether
makes.
do you give a permission to view user profiles as to how big it? Yeah, I suppose if it's a kind of more closed community and
Right.
seeing members, and even then it's probably quite rare that you'd expose the email address.
I think just because the use case for that is low, it doesn't mean that nobody wants it. And it doesn't mean that, like, I mean, usually when I want my admins to see the email, I put it in a view somewhere rather than on the profile pages. So they don't have to go to every profile page. But I could see, depending on your use case, if that's the way that your admins interact with your people, having it on the profile page could be totally valid. I just imagine it's not, probably doesn't make the 80%.
Yeah, I'm guessing that that's the use case that he's thinking of, is sort of the admin being able to see it. But yeah, I think that worth
You could
discussing, yeah.
You could easily do it with a block, couldn't you? So if you can put it in a view, you can put it in a block that appears on that page,
Yeah.
and only appears to certain people or in certain circumstances.
Yeah, you could also do it with a field block,
Yeah.
maybe.
So this
Worth it.
issue's 4 minutes old and it's already got a comment on it.
And a discussion in the weekly meeting.
Yes. Can't promise this level of support for every new issue. Okay. Okay, well. Are there any other issues that we want to talk about? What? There is a design issue, which is related to backdrop, a community design issue, which I know GoGo was interested in maybe helping us, but I think he's not available right now. And that is just, in case he's not available, maybe somebody else could help us, which is just getting some graphics that we can use to promote Backdrop Live. I have some really crappy ones that I made last time, which would need to be updated to deal with the vertical horizontal issue, but I could do that. I was really hoping a better designer might take a stab at those. And we can ping GoGo. I know that Martin, you were communicating, you and I have both sort of pinged GoGo, and we might want to just get a confirmation on whether or not he thinks he's available to do that or not.
He suggested in the chat here that he hopes to do it tomorrow.
Okay, I didn't see that. So if I had seen that, I wouldn't have brought it up. Okay. That's fine. We don't need it before tomorrow. So, or even, it'd be nice to have it before next week. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know if there's any other design issues related to, well, I think probably they can wait. There's other, one of the things that would be fun to work with GoGo on is just some various design issues related to our different properties, our websites, but none of them are urgent today. Okay. Has anybody had any design usability problems with the event site, since that one is important right now? We've got a number of 15 people have registered so far, and nobody has indicated any major issues.
No, I did. I noticed. I registered today, and I noticed after I completed the donation, I did get a little pop-up on the screen in the events.backdropcms.org browser, which suggests that there's some notification going back from PayPal to the site to say that a donation has been made. So I know in the past we said, we can't update to say donation, but it does seem like something's coming back. Not an urgent thing, but just something. I don't know whether that's a new thing. I don't remember seeing it before, but it does look like something's coming back on that module to the actual site that might be possible to hook in and be able to acknowledge that people have made a donation.
So there is a URL that you can send PayPal that'll say when this transaction is complete, return people to this page. And we might be seeing that behavior. But we don't have like a post receive hookup set up where PayPal would specifically send the data to our site saying this person has registered. That does exist, but I don't think we have any modules on the site that are doing that. We've just sort of embedded the form. So yeah, I think there's just a to-do there on like, make it smarter.
Well, let's talk briefly. I just shared my screen quick, I think, with the event site. And Jen, just to sort of let you know, I tried to do something like this with putting a message about Block B being presentations. I couldn't figure it out, but yesterday during office hours, Archie Piano helped me and figured out how to show the description for the blocks. And I don't know, I just wanted to show you that we did that, and if you have other thoughts. And then I went ahead and put a note on the ones that weren't being recorded as well. It might be getting a little cluttered. I'd be okay with simplifying these messages a bit, but I thought it would be good to have something indicating the difference between them. So I don't need an immediate reaction on that, but I wanted to point that out. That's the main UX change
I
or
think that's great.
design thing that we've done since I last chatted with you. So anyways, we don't usually put the schedule on the front page until the conference starts. I don't know if there's anything else. If other people have ideas of what we could do with the front page to just make it more engaging as we're doing outreach for Backdrop Live, please let us know, content suggestions or anything else.
I don't, do we capture, sorry, I'm looking rather dark there, sun setting. Do we get feedback? Do we capture the feedback that we get? I'm fairly, do you send out like the link to an email to people who've registered and say, have you got any feedback? Because one thing I suppose you could do is a kind of block of any, positive feedback, and just to encourage people who are thinking of applying.
I'm sorry, are you saying ask people who've already registered for feedback?
I've got a feeling that you've asked for feedback in the past.
Just about the event?
Yes.
Like
Sure.
a survey.
And got feedback from the event. So if there's like positive things that people saying, I learned a great deal, or whatever, or that could be a good thing to say, showing a block.
Oh, like some testimonials almost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought your question was about asking for feedback, and your question is really about better displaying.
Yeah,
if
we've had positive feedback, it would be good. It would encourage people who were maybe on the fence about registering, if there's people who they can maybe identify with that say that. It's only if you've got that information.
I don't think we actually have done this. We've talked about, but I don't think we've actually done a written feedback survey. We've gotten verbal feedback during the final session of each thing. And we might have jotted some of that down somewhere, but I can't think of it. We may be able to find some feedback in like our Twitter history, or maybe even in the Zulip chat history. Maybe people have said some things we could quote, but it's a thought. I actually kind of like it. But I don't have any, I don't know where to go to get it right away. I'd have to look around and find it or watch for it. Maybe somebody will say something really positive that we could use in the next 2 weeks. time is it? It's getting close to the next meeting anyway, so our short, as usual, our short meeting wasn't so short. In terms of usability, Jen, I think and I are both aware that probably the big thing when we have time, and this is not urgent, it would be helping people better schedule their own sessions. And if we could do that in the future, I guess the current system seems to be working okay. I believe right now, just to confirm, somebody registering can submit a session. It just they can't assign it a time slot, or they can't publish it. Do you know what they can do right now?
They can create a discussion or a presentation, but they can't set it for a specific time or
Okay.
room.
Okay. Which is not, I mean, that's, I think, a pretty good intermediary step. It may be nice eventually to actually let them schedule it, but there are problems with that we need to address.
I'm also working on, slowly but surely, I'm working on making it so that right now I'm working on a button that when you push the button, it'll automatically create a discussion item for every single room. I'm also making it so that those discussion items will have a claim this slot button. When you click that button, you get the edit form for that particular node. The author changes to you, and you can then save it again. So you're not changing the time zone or slot, so you don't have to worry about the permissions, but it does automatically put it into that place. And I think that that'll make it much easier in the future for people to be able to say, I want this one, and rather than have to click another one and then request the slot. They'll just edit it directly on the form. But I'm not quite there yet.
Okay.
But that's my dream goal, is to have that.
I have a tiny request, which you
Yes.
I could probably figure out myself, but you could probably do before I finish my sentence, which is right now the default for all of the nodes I created is it didn't auto generate URLs, and so they're just node X. And if I say generate a URL, it generates one with the prefix archive/discussion. And that, so basically, the last couple of them, what I did was auto-generated one with the archive and then edited it to get rid of the archive, which is silly, and we should just fix that.
Okay, what do you want it to be?
Well, I think we should just, we don't, or maybe actually having the archive there may be what we want. I didn't think so. I could be wrong. Was that intended? And if it was, I could go back and fix the few that
It was originally intended. There's a bulk update too, so you don't have to do them manually. It was.
I was just thinking for the current
originally,
one. Right. I was
because
thinking. Go ahead.
because when we first launched the site, nobody used the sessions until afterwards, and then they showed up in the archive section. So that was, but that doesn't. Since then, we've added a lot of functionality to the site. So that was originally intended, but maybe doesn't match what we're doing with our current use case. Right. So totally fine to change it if you want it.
Well, so my assumption was that maybe the intent was that we give them that archive after the event, although actually that's kind of silly because we don't really want to change URLs, do we? It's better to keep them consistent, even if they're old.
You could set the URLs so that it relates. So maybe you have July 2022 and then the name of the discussion, because I'd imagine you could. I mean, there'll certainly be some where you'll have the same name of session every time, so you don't want to have a clash. Sure. Whereas if you have July 22 in the URL and the name, then it will be unique, and you don't have to have an archive. It'll just be the same forever.
I like that.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little reworking. So right now it was archive/presentation/ and archive/discussion/. So I'm just removing archive from the beginning. And then between discussion and the title of the discussion, I'll put in your month day in numeric form. Sure. Or should we put human readable? Your name of month day?
Don't think it matters. Really.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever you.
I would even just put year and month rather than.
That's true. Okay, good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think year and month is good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end this meeting. It's 10 minutes till the next one. And we can continue to chat a little bit in between meetings. Jen, I think you have the button, so you should.